So this is the video of our art lab globally, and it's about 4 minutes, so please.
UNDP set out to build the world's largest and fastest learning network on sustainable development challenges. In less than a year, we did just that. 60 lab teams covering 78 countries are now up and running in UNDP offices, doing development differently. We accelerate learning by creating actionable intelligence and testing solutions. We strengthen capabilities by supporting decision makers to explore, experiment, and grow portfolios. We adapt to change by expanding the way UNDP invests, thinks about, and delivers development. We look for what's next by scanning the horizon. The network is comprised of fast and curious labbers. 72% are brand new to the UN system. 24% are returning to their home countries to solve development challenges. 63% have experience in ethnographic research. Our award-winning teams are helping UNDP reimagine sustainable development for the 21st century. In this time of planetary crisis, when best practices don't always exist, we need to learn what works and what doesn't for sustainable development problems in a matter of weeks, not years. That's what this agile network is about. When COVID-19 hit, governments had limited information, no blueprints, but had opportunities to work with people innovating to stop the spread of the virus. The Accelerator labs have powered UNDP for fast action. UNDP Sudan identified insights about behavioral patterns such as panic buying and stockpiling.
The most exciting part of our project is that we designed it and we did the data collection in just under 2 days.
UNDP Ethiopia used foresight to imagine how COVID-19 will impact industrial parks.
Here in Ethiopia, we used foresight to understand how the newly developed industrial parks would be affected by the pandemic.
UNDP Philippines used real-time data visualization to help assess the impact of the pandemic on excluded citizens.
In the Philippines, we used messenger chatbots and other digital tools in tandem with community organizing to give the vulnerable a greater voice in the assessment of the socio-economic impacts of COVID-19.
UNDP Argentina helped design financial solutions for small entrepreneurs impacted by the crisis.
Pay in Advance is a social media campaign from the Argentine Accelerator Lab. It encouraged consumers to pay in advance goods and services so they can get them after the lockdown ends.
The way Accelerator labs apply cutting-edge behavioral insights, support real-time data, and create future-proof policy advice is becoming an integral part of UNDP's contribution to the UN-wide response to COVID-19 and its economic legacy. Looking towards the future, the world's largest network of labs is growing and looking for partnerships with governments, businesses, and academia.
Thank you.
So this is a little bit what the lab does. It's really, looking for solutions and trying, to understand business challenges, which is also development challenges. Yeah?
And I hope you find it exciting after watching this. And a little bit update of the lab. Now we have 91 labs across 150 countries in the world. And the lab was designed in order to close the gap of the current development practices, because the way we practice our development is not fast enough and respond good enough to the 21st challenges that we are currently facing. And also the way we doing development work is rather linear, while in fact the world is very complex, messy, and the problem is very wicked. So we need a new set of way to work in order to address this complexity of the problem. And this is how we deliver our work. We have 4 big components, from sense to explore to test and grow. And the way we work in our lab is very open-ended and safe to fail space, so that we have the room to reiterate our work before making sure that it's really working before we roll it out at a larger scale. So the sensing is about understanding the current emerging challenges as well as the opportunity in the local context, so that we can determine the most wicked problem before we decide to put our attention or focus on those specific issues. So that's the sensing component. For the exploring, it's more about understanding the challenges and looking for the local solutions. And particularly by working with citizens on the ground mainly, so that we understand how they address their local challenges or their local problems and how they overcome it, so that we document them and learn from them. And after that, we need to test those solutions that we found and also design a set of solutions in order to intervene the problem at multiple systems. And then we can continuously testing those solutions before the final stage, which is the growing. So the growing is the stage that we know for sure that those solutions are really working and they are ready for scaling up and as well as for policy and testing. So this is the model of our accelerator lab.
And it's circular, it can go up and down, really, it's about learning. So there's nothing linear about it, as Danny has said in the beginning.
And our lab has 3 members. So currently I'm the head of experimentation.
So the job is not open.
And we're looking for 2 more candidates. The head of exploration as well as the head of solution marketing. And what are the profiles that we try to look for? We want somebody who is very curious, open-minded, asks a lot of questions, and also not fall into the assumption quickly. And sometimes they can also challenge the status quo as well. So we're looking for this profile.
We call them disruptors.
Yeah,
The ACT Lab, we call them disruptors. They have to disrupt the way we do things so that we can see our blind spots, right? Things that we don't normally see because I don't have, I have this training, I have this degree, and I tend to see the things I know best, right?
Another quality that we're looking for is somebody who has the spirit of team collaboration, not team competition. We don't look for something to compete with one another. We look for somebody who has a certain set of strength and skill, like the Marvel characters. They have their own strengths, and each member play their own expertise. Together, they can disrupt the enemy. But in our way, it's more like unlock the challenges that we are facing in the current 21st century. Also, we want somebody who is a constant learner with an intellectually humble, and also when they don't know anything, they can say that I don't know, but I will find out the answer and I will learn more and I will work as a team together. We can solve the complexity of the problem. So these are some of the qualities, not all yet, that we're looking for. For the role of exploration, we're looking for somebody who has the ability to do the horizon scanning, meaning that they can identify the current trends, what is going on currently, and they can analyze those trends or signal impact on the UNDP work as well as on Cambodia as a whole. They can identify the risk, the emerging opportunity as well.
They can, if you allow me just to explain a little bit, they can be some signs that are technological, right? They can be social, they can be legal, they can be political, they can be anything that is changing in the context around us in Cambodia, and that might be an opportunity or might be, a risk. I always see risk as opportunities because they push us to change the way we do business, right? The way we see things. So constant changing.
Thank you.
So is it correct to say one of the things for the head of exploration is to be a trend scouter, to look for?
Yes, but there are certain tools, of course, yeah, that he or she needs to use to do it systematically, right? And all of this is backed by evidence, of course. So if I see this trend growing, you know, okay, I see, you know, digital transformation is very important. Why is it very important? So there are data, whether qualitative or quantitative, about the users, about, you know, the increase in, you know, e-commerce or the use of. So it is always back. It's a science, right? It's scientific.
Thank you. And on top of this two experience, we also look for somebody who has a minimum 2 years of experience in development work or in social innovation. If they have the master degree in these fields, social science, data science, and so on. But if you don't have the master degree, it's okay to have bachelor, but your experience has to be more. It has to be at least 4 years in order to apply for this position.
If you allow me, Danny, this post needs to be good with data, right? Data, statistics, how to represent data in a way that is understandable for perhaps non-technical people or the lay person. So data is very important as well here.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. For the head of solutions mapping, it's somebody who loves going to the community, going to the ground, meeting people, value their knowledge, value their solution, value the way they live, the way how they address their own challenges or opportunity. And the candidate of this position would map all the existing grassroots or local solutions identified on the ground, and also go to the very rural area, isolated area sometimes to do the ethnographic document of their lives and their journey as well.
And with special focus on vulnerable groups, on marginalized groups, to understand about inequality as well. So he or she will need to go and understand and observe, because everybody has solutions, right? We're not reinventing the wheel, but we might improve it, we might scale it up, but we have to learn from the people who have been living for a long time.
The same like head exploration, we looking for somebody who have a master degree, but in different field, more like in anthropology, sociology, or other related field, and they need to have a minimum 2 years of experience if they have the master degree. But if they do not have the master degree, they still can apply if they have the bachelor degree with 4 years of related experiences. And these are the two profiles that we're looking for. After this, I will work closely with the two of them, design the set of experiment portfolios. And then the most exciting part is that I can have the chance to test those solutions that we identify, to find out what works, what doesn't work, and why it doesn't work, what can we learn from it, how can we reiterate it again and again so that they are ready at the growing stage. So this, the two profiles that we explain in brief. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us here. And Bong San and Sam also are here to answer your question related to any HR related or communication, publication related as well. Thank you. Any question?
Any questions related to the job, to the profile, to the type of contracts, to the HR issues? This is the moment, you know, for clarifying everything.
So I have a question here, because I see the flow is more on from head of previous exploration.
Experimentation.
Oh, experiment. So because I see the flow is from head of explorations, more like they see the issues and identify the trends, and then the study is from there. So I'm wondering whether or not there is like from head of solution or experimentation where they can observe the market, like not the market, but the society, and propose that. Is it the way it works, or it's just from one?
This is a simplified manner to put it, and maybe also Danny can elaborate. But at one point when you're learning, sometimes you're scouting for what he did. So you're scouting for signals. You're trying to look for how people deal with it. So it's not as rigid. It's really, you know, on the dynamic with the team. It depends on the learning that you're doing. So sometimes there would be some exchanges in the roles, but they will be the main expertise, you know, but you will rely, for example, for deepening the reflection on the person who is knowledgeable in data, or the person who's knowledgeable, you know, on social issues, right? But Danny, I don't know if you have anything to add or to clarify.
Yes. If I understand your question correctly, do we have to start from exploration first, or it can be?
Yes, where to start?
You mean back to this model? Should we start from sensing first up to exploration, or we can start anywhere? That would depend on the problem that we are solving.
Okay.
So if some problem we already certainly to some degree know that those solutions are sure, we know it a bit, we can jump straight into the testing stage. But sometimes if the problem there and we're still not sure, we still know what is going on, we can start from the sensing stage, by understanding what is really happening, and then on the data side, on desk review and so on, and then also send the person to the ground to immerse in the community, to understand the reality of it, and then coming back with those to identify solutions for testing. So it would depend on the topic that we're working on.
Or it might be somebody working and noted something, right? For example, I'm on mission in the field, and I see that, you know, I don't know, civic engagement is not the way it should be in this community, you know? So people would start looking, how do people communicate, you know? So they're already exploring, right? How do they communicate? What is the best way of communication, right? How can the information about a certain service or a certain good gets to the people, right? So the challenge already is that the information is not going to the people. So maybe they will skip the sensing, right? They will go into the solution, or they would say, no, let's think why it is not going there, you know? Because people only believe or have trust in human element? Is it because they don't have smartphones to look at Facebook? So it really depends about, you know, the learning that they're doing. And there are certain learning that needs some time, few months, and there are certain learning that would be resolved in 1 or 2 days, because you're looking into the behavior of people, you know. So it really depends, but as I said, there's nothing here, we put it like this, but it's not as organized, right? This is real life. Let's not forget, real life, real people, real challenges. They can be very I don't want to use, you know, acronyms, but the idea of creating this, because we live in a world which is very volatile, very uncertain, right? Very complex, and very last one, I don't remember always. Ambiguous. We don't understand it always, right? So this is, if you heard about VUCA, so this
is there any other question?
Yes, I have a question. So do we have specific measurement to measure whether it's in the form of goals or how, in order to define the success of, you know, the role itself? Do you have specific KPIs or measurement for specific role, for example, the head of exploration, or do we also have like some sort of a shared goals that we work on together, and something a little bit more tangible?
I think you may want to address first. I will take it from the HR part on the assessment.
So again, each profile have a different skill set and expertise.
Yes.
So the KPI, and here we call PMD, Personal Development Plan. In business we call KPI.
Personal Development Plan. So
PMD. So the PMD will state it based on your job description. So when you hire, you will sign the job description, and the KPI, the PMD will be developed based on that. So for example, the exploration,
yes,
their key KPI is horizon scanning as well as data visualization and analysis. That means that is their main goal. If there is, for example, we need to work on a specific topic that we know, not knowing for sure what is going on, we will start with the sensing. So the sensing is more for the exploration. identifying the emerging challenges and opportunity and so on. We will rely on that person. That means at the same time, we, the other heads, also understand it, but not their main expertise. It's like they understand it, but not their main expertise. I hope I answer your question.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
I have one question. Can we dive a little bit into what horizon scanning is?
Okay. So horizon scanning is more like one of the specific tools that we use to identify the emerging opportunities or risks that is going on in our real life. And they have some indicator, we call it some, one we call signal, another one is trends, and the last one is driving force. So let me share you example of COVID to identify those terminology of the horizon scanning. So when COVID hit in Wuhan, first immediately, that was the signal being sent to the world. There is this kind of disease in Wuhan, and the doctor tried to alert us. So this is the signal being raised. A few months later, it has been spread all over the world, maybe in some countries first, fairly quickly, and that means COVID has become a trend. A few months later only, the trend has to be either the same, going up or going down. 1 or 2 years later, COVID has become a driving force, meaning that we cannot change them anymore. They are the one, the COVID will be the one who changes change the way we operate business, change the way we do education, change the way we do our mailing, for example. So these are the three key elements in the horizon scanning, but there are many other tools that exist as well. And we will the candidate will be trained on that if they were selected. And we will scan based on one of the tools that we use here, we call it a PASTOR. It's we scan based on the political impact, economic impact, environmental, technological, legal, and social value as well. So these are the things that the person will do on the horizon.
So we do this logically, you know, we don't wait for the 2 years, because when it becomes a driving force, it's too late. Like it was with us in COVID, like no one has predicted that it will become such a driving force, right? So we tend to look at these things and try to predict them ahead of time and try to prepare ourselves, if we cannot change them, to reduce the impact. So it is looking a little bit into the future in order to be able to do, you know, policies and programs that can, you know, enhance the resilience, the capacity, the strength, the preparedness of people and of governments, of course, because we work both with government and with with people, you know, whether private sector, academia, local communities, youth groups, etc. Okay.
I have a question. So when I hear the three hats, most of the things that the three hats mostly play the role as operationalized and looking for solutions. But I would like to know that how you collect the sign or the signal or the hypothesis or do all kind of testing. So you do like the review, or you collect from whatever, or you wait until the shock happens until.
The signals, how do we pick up the signals? Okay. You know, right?
Yes.
There's also data.
Yeah.
There are many ways that we pick up the signal. It can be on news, it can be sometimes the ordinary conversation among the local people. This can be picked up by solution matter or by anyone who are the heads, and also can be picked up by some other media platform, either online or offline. So
yeah, it can be official data, official statistics changing. It can be artificial intelligence, you know, in some countries, not here, but in another country we did, you know, sentiment analysis using social media, how people feel towards certain things, right? Or what do they consider as concern. This is also one way, to pick up your signs. You might be with the tuk-tuk, right? And you speak Khmer, all of you, So speaking with the people, you might pick up, there is no more, the morning glory price has increased a lot, right? Oh, why is it so? You see, this is important for people. So this is how you pick up. It's just being in tune and listen to the surrounding, whether using official or unofficial information and data. And of course, lots of reading, right? Lots of discussing with people. We have a lot of contacts and sessions, for example, for our horizon scanning for the office. We had, invited, think tanks to come and speak to us on certain issues. Certain NGOs that we know and we respect, right? To talk about their areas of expertise. We invited representatives from the government, secretaries of states or, vice ministers to come and tell us about how do they read certain issues, right? So it is listening to the people, it is reading, it's being curious, right? And being, sensitive to the surrounding and the changes in the surroundings. Did we answer your question?
Yes.
I actually have one question. I have seen that we have seen that a lot of emerging needs and issues happening in the 21st century, and also we want to achieve the goal by 2030 or something. But I'm not sure here, do we identify or prioritize any specific issue that we want to achieve first, or something like that related to education or maybe poverty or tech innovation?
Look, the priorities of work, UNDP does not have priorities. Our priorities are the priorities of the society and of the government, right? And when we talk about the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, or about development, everything is interrelated, right? If you're poor, you cannot go to school. This affects poverty and education. This means that you will not be able to access any opportunities in the future to work or livelihood. You will stay poor. If you're poor and you don't generate money, your health is poor as well. You don't have enough to eat, so all of this is interrelated, and we can continue for the other SDGs. So what we try to do is that, for now, the government is very focused on recovery after COVID and going back to the development, because Cambodia has very good track of development, 7% of the GDP before COVID, which is excellent by all means. They used to call it the fourth Asian tiger, right? However, we said yes, we'll support the ambition of the kingdom, but we want it to be more inclusive, less inequality in the country, more green, because Cambodia is a small country and it needs to be different from the surrounding and be able to embrace a green economy, green nature-based solutions, but also they need, because it is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. So adaptation and resilience needs to be very strong. So this is how we say, yes, the priorities of the country, this is what governs us, because you as society and as government, you know what you need best, but we need it to be more inclusive, we need it to be more green and more resilience. And this is, some of the lessons that have been validated after COVID, right?
I have a similar question. So when I look at this governance of experimental design studies, normally this kind of study, it takes a very long time, maybe 1 or 2 years, or maybe 100 years. So to see the impact of intervention, because we need to choose kind of control group and treatment group, and then we analyze the impact of intervention. So in this job of capital exploration, so it's involved in design such study, or not so clear, and about the duration of the experimental design, maybe how long, and also have some question.
Let's take it one question at a time, if you agree, right? So, you come from academia, you told me. For sure, we don't want long learnings. We cannot afford. Time is changing, poor people are affected, right? So it needs to be quick. it needs to have scientific basis, but we cannot afford years, right? So there are certain methods, there's certain ways to do it, and this is why we're using also a lot of behavioral insight, a lot of foresighting, a lot of system approach to be able to do these changes. So years, of course not. So what was the rest of the question?
I also want to know the priority area of this study. Like, is it led to economic issues such as digital payment or other social issues?
Just to ask you to answer also, the first question that we do the learning very quickly and you do the intervention to change. Like for example, during COVID, there has been certain macroeconomic analyses, certain economic analysis that led to the expansion, of the social assistance to 700,000 new households. So this is, you do your things, you do your research, you do your stuff, and you need to advise policy, the government, or to have new program or things. Colleagues had a lot of examples, like during COVID, they used, for example, GIS, and they used information from GIS to identify the impact of lockdown during COVID and on mobility of people. So maybe you can show them something.
Yes. So when COVID hit the country, we need to find the data underground very quickly so that we can take immediate action and support our government in order to address this. So one of the data that we use, we call it the mobility data. It's more like a real time. We track it monthly for over a period of 1 to 2 years every month, and we updated this on this platform. And then the government can use this, as well as our development partners, they can use this. And to complement that mobility insight, we use the traditional way of research, because this can reach to the very rural, isolated area to understand the real impact on informal workers as well as on the business people. So this is one of the examples that we did very quickly in order to address the socio-economic impacts of COVID on Cambodian people.
So there were, support packages to families as a result, but also support packages to small businesses.
Yeah. It seems like this project really focused on real-time data, right? So it's also a question from me that how can you get the real-time data? Because from my understanding, it's so hard to get all of those informations to certain areas, right? If you may share.
We work with a private company who have a specialty in mobility data, and also ensure that the data privacy will be maintained. They cannot track individual data and put the data there. It's more like aggregate level.
And there's satellite imagery.
Yeah.
We use also satellite imagery. So it's a combination of a lot of tools and methods to get. You don't have anything, to show a map or something how it shows? Just, the module. If it's possible, if not, that's fine.
Yes. So this is our data. Let me show you.
Now they are using also, artificial intelligence to get poverty data. This is informal, but it will complement the surveys that take long time, to do it.
So this can get every month, every week, very quickly, while the survey, it takes a few months in order to get the data.
And this helps to correct certain decisions or certain policies, or to refine certain programs to reach the people that are most in need.
So this is the data we work with the company to collect it, and we made analysis and put it out there. And we can do it bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly in a few major provinces, or some case all provinces.
So this is how quick, you know, certain learnings and the use of new technology and new approaches can be. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Right. So I have one question about the job application. For example, the candidate apply in the solution mapping, but after see your presentation and discuss in the group, the candidate have been changed their mind and they say that the other position, exploration is more related to their skill. So is it possible that the candidate has swapped or reapply a bit?
Sure,
Reapply, no?
sure. I think actually this session is to share more detail about the two positions. So you are able to learn the responsibility, the work that each position would do, then you can decide. So to answer your question, you can apply for both positions.
So candidate would apply again or you just swap?
No, you
You need to
reapply.
apply.
These are two separate things.
Okay.
And because everything goes online, it is very transparent. So even our colleagues in New York or in Bangkok or in Malaysia, you know, can see. So we cannot change anything. So it needs two separate. So you can reapply. Yes.
All right.
And the deadline is on 10, so
So the solution mapper deadline is on the 7th.
Actually on the 6th New York time, which is on the 7th of June at 10:59 Cambodia time to be specific.
so you need to do it tonight.
So
exactly.
Is this information available for the public and private sector? Or because just want to share my.
You mean this data? Dashboard? Yes, it's for public.
Let me specify something. Innovation is not only technology. So here we're not only about technology and AI. It's the whole way of thinking. It's the whole way of doing things differently, not business as usual. So for me, if I want a technological solution, probably I'll go to a company or a startup, right? Here, it's how we can think about difficult problems, and we try, you know, to find solutions that suit the Cambodian people, it might work in Cambodia, that might not work in Laos, right? You know, to really capture it, see why it works, create the right environment to take it to somewhere else in Cambodia, or, you know, to repeat it or to upscale it. So it's not only technology. Some people always think that innovation is about technology. It's not the case, no.
It's a grassroots as well.
But we try to use, since, you know, most of the people, you know, like in innovation are in tune, you know, with technology, they use certain technological tools in order to support their horizon scanning, foresighting exercises or solution, you know, because of the sake of time. So any more questions? Anything, colleagues, you would like to add?
Can I yes, please?
Would you tell them later what the people who are shortlisted, what is waiting for them?
Yeah, I was about to ask that, and when is the earliest that this role needs to be filled? Any timing in mind?
Actually, we like to have these two positions filled up as soon as possible. But just to alert you that the process may take a little longer than expected, because these two positions, I mean the recruitment process are taken care by our Kuala Lumpur's office. So yeah, we
No, and there are different steps, you know, there are different steps. After now you apply, there will be long listing to see, you know, who the people have the right degrees and years of experience. Then there will be the shortlisting to see whether your experience is relevant, right? Because you might have a lot of experience, but it's not relevant, right? After we go from shortlisting, you know, there is a pre-recorded video that you need to do, and a certain, you know, writing exam during the video or something. Yeah. After the video, there is, you know, an interview panel, and the people who, you know, are recommended after the interview panel would receive an offer. The people who are not, you know, kept, you know, it will be an experience, you know, for the future to improve, you know, the CV perhaps, to improve, you know, the interview skills, etc.
Understood. And if I may ask this,
2 to 3 months. 2 to 3 months. Yeah.
So roughly we're looking at August, September.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another question.
Sure.
Just one question. So all the interview process, do we need to come face to face or can we do online or cannot online?
You just explain.
There's a video recorded, you can do it from home, but the panel needs to be face to face. Because I need to feel that you're the right person I need. Because other than the expertise and everything, you know, I need to listen to you, to see how you think, you know, how you solve problems, how you communicate, right? So it needs to be face to face. Yeah, at least one more face to face.
Clear. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah? No more question?
Not sure if I can have one last.
Yes, please, do. You still have a few minutes.
Will be very quick. So maybe can you describe a little bit of head of solution mapping and like how they're working in a day-to-day way of working as the head of solution mapping?
Head of solution mapping.
I'm not sure if you might be aware of the day-to-day.
So day-to-day activity, how does it look
Something
like?
like that.
Day-to-day, I don't know. It depends on the learning they're doing. But this person needs to know how to do behavioral insights, needs to do ethnographic studies, needs to do, you know, some social, you know, analysis, right? So this is the main work, you know, it's mainly people-centered. It's mainly, you know, working with people, listening to people, consulting with people, you know, but according to, there are obviously social methods to do these things in a scientific manner.
Yeah. And they just love working on the ground. They have that as the habit, their DNA. They love talking to people, go to the ground, explore and learn. Not just sit at the desk mostly. No, we don't look for that kind of time.
And these priorities, you know, are determined through discussion with the program team, because we have a whole projects and program in UNDP. So, for example, they would tell the ACLAB colleagues, look, colleagues, we're having troubles, you know, right? We're having troubles, we don't understand this issue, you know, gender, let's say. So these guys would help us understand better what does gender mean, what are the blockages, what are the opportunities, what are the strengths, based on, and what solutions can we do to promote, I don't know, equal opportunities for women, you know, by certain solutions, certain insights from failures as from success. So as there are certain lessons to learn, no, or insights to get. And this is the idea. It's continuous work with the rest of the team, but also sometimes they might spot something interesting and they want to do it. So there is a gentle person's agreement. 70% you do what the team or the internal clients wants you to do, and there is 30% is for your creativity. Whether you want to test a certain new tool, you want to do a small study. You have one. What do you have now? A pet project.
I'm working on my personal project, which is hacking the administrative burden within the organization itself. See if we can shorten any process so that it's more effective. And
so it's what is interesting to her, she does it, and she also gives us back her insights, her learnings, her thing. And there is something very important also in the lab, something called work out loud. Meaning, you know, that the labbers write always, you know, blogs about their experience, how they learned, what they use, why they did. And you have weekly calls with all the people from all the countries of the world, right?
Joining the call every Tuesday, because they call from New York, so it's evening our time. And on top of the weekly call for all of the 3 members, we also have a weekly or bi-weekly call based on our expertise. You have a group of solution mappers, experimenters, or explorers together.
So maybe if you can give them, you know, the link where they can see the blog to get some idea, that will be useful if you're curious about seeing what type of things are going on, you know. And on Twitter, and you know, there is ACLAB, Accelerator Labs. They always put small things, small publications, or links to publications on this.
Yeah, I know.
So there's space for us to learn, share, and reapply, basically.
Sure. And to move, if you wish, across countries or across continents, it really depends on your interest.
You highlight a very interesting point. May I ask if you can answer over the last decades, how many of our local talent has been moving around global mobility?
As ACLAB is fairly new. No, but normally the people who work with us, they're like hot bread. They're taken by private sector or other agencies. But for example, if you're talking about the UN in general, how many Cambodian went international?
I think there are a couple. There are a couple of colleagues, but not the ACLAB team.
No, others.
Few
colleagues.
I think so far. Around 6 or 7 people that went on international, both at the support level and professional level. Yeah, 2 different country officers to regional officers to New York.
Yes.
There are a couple in New York. There are a couple in regional center. There are a few in Copenhagen's office. So yes, we do have Cambodian colleagues moved on to international.
It's not better or worse, it's a personal choice. Everything comes with positive and negative issues. Yeah?
Thank you.
All right. I hope you found this session useful and that you had, a little bit these posts demystified, because sometimes we read the terms of reference and we say, well, what do they want, right?
Okay, thank you. We will share you this blog so that you can have a sense of what are we really working on, and it also has a lot of information about the ACLAB at the global and country level as well. You can explore more at your own time.
So this one is open to public to access, yes?
Everything in UNDP is open to the public. We are one of the most transparent development agency among all governments and all development partners for the last 10 or more years. So everything about our project, our budget, where we are implementing, there is the transparency portal, and this is not by us saying it, it's a civil society organization that does this evaluation for everybody. So you can find everything online.
Great, love it even more.
Yeah, and as you can see, just to end up very quickly, we try to walk the talk. So for example, you can see we have, electrical cars, we have motorbikes, electrical motorbikes, we have the solar panels for here. We were accredited, as occupational health and hygiene, and environmental, friendly, the LEED. It's this certification from the US. It's a long process, so we're committed to everything we say, and we're also committed to the well-being of our staff. We have flexi times, we have remote work, there is everything, that accommodates the families, whether man or woman, or, but also, we have, the nursing room and, for kids, little kids up there, so we try as much as possible to be a caring employer.
Maybe I'll not be 1 minute. I'd like to add that I think for these 2 positions, we have medical insurance for staff and their dependents, meaning to say spouse and children. We have annual leave of 2.5 days a month. If you cannot use all your annual leave, you can carry forward up to 60 days to the following year. You have maternity leave for female colleagues, of course, up to 16 weeks. We have paternity leave for daily, of course, for up to 4 weeks. Like every year you would see maybe up to 2 times of salary increment. One is based on the salary survey result. The other one is step increment based on your performance. You have the option of requesting for salary advance for your family emergency need. You have child allowance up to 6 children. You have pension fund enrollment. You have learning, access to quantum learning. This is the UNDP learning. In the UNDP website learning, we have also UNDP and external courses.
with some of the leading universities, London School of Economics, Columbia University, Pennsylvania.
And you also have access to career opportunity, like lateral move to similar positions in the country office. You have exposure to different units. You have detailed assignment to different country offices and regional offices. And
this is a flexibility. This is not a right. Huh? If the work here does not allow it, we will say no.
Also, I just like to add a little bit more that Alisa has mentioned earlier about the flexible working arrangement to suit the needs of individual staff, so that you can have time for your family. For example, you can start a little bit early so that you could leave early to pick up your kids from school, and you could work 9 in 10 days, 10 in 9 days, for example. You add another 50 minutes of every day in 2 weeks, so you get the other Friday off, or another day off. Let's say if you work, if you are from Kampong Cham province, you may want to leave a Friday to stay with your family over the weekend for a long weekend. Also, you can work from another location, we call telecommuting. So work from an alternate location away from the office. So those are the options, not right. Okay, colleagues, before you leave, we have a small gift for your souvenir, So the eco bag. So just pick up one. I will move.
No more plastic bag. By the way, we're plastic free, yeah, in this office.
So when